with your hosts, Andrew Romanella.
The first problem is with the owner of the Carolina Panthers. Okay, you're an idiot. Seriously, I don't think I'm good enough in this spot based on my own personal mental health, so I can't continue.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of The Rome Show here on 12ouncesports.com. Broadcast on Dingo TV, channel 217. I am your host, Andrew Romanella. I got you for the next 30 minutes and change on this Monday, the last day of September. Yes, I said that correctly, the last day of September. I don't know how you feel out there listening to The Rome Show right now on the last day of September, but I got to tell you, I cannot believe we are here. It feels like a short 3 days ago. I was waking up at the beginning of the summertime, no football, middle of baseball season, off season for hockey and basketball, getting ready for the Olympics. And that is where I feel like we just were as a show. But instead, we're really, in reality, fourth week of the NFL season, last day of September. We are on the precipice of Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, that 2.5 month, 3 month span of the year that brings so much excitement, a lot of chaos, a lot of family usually, and some time off from school and work, which is good too. So we're not going to push the calendar too far forward, but it's just wild to think we are here on the Rome Show, September 30th, 2024. We remind everybody to get us on social media, the Rome Show 1. That's Instagram, that's X, that's Facebook, that's TikTok. Follow us everywhere. If you missed the show, get the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And of course, support the Rome cause, RomeShowShop.com, RomeShowShop.com. We have a lot of football to talk about today and playoff baseball, okay? Because if you don't know, and by the way, I'm sorry if I sound a little under the weather today, if it seems like my voice is a little off. I was at a wedding all weekend. I've been dodging my girlfriend's sickness and other people in my lives' sickness for like the last week. I think I did a pretty good job, but I think the combination of the wedding and the lack of sleep, maybe not the plus level nutrition of the body, and then the waking up early for the Monday morning has really got me, at least in my own head, sounding a little off. And I know everyone knows what I'm talking about there. Like, you immediately start to speak and you're like, your octave doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right at all. So I am sorry if the voice sounds a little off on this Monday. I hope the content is not as off on this Monday. We got baseball. And we didn't get a chance to really dive into this last week in terms of what's going on with the Mets and the Braves. So if you didn't know, and then we have all the time in the world to go over what happened in yesterday's football contest, but I must start with this. The Braves and the Mets will play a doubleheader tonight in Atlanta. This doubleheader was originally 2 games that were scheduled for Thursday and Wednesday of last week, I believe, okay? And at the time, the New York Metropolitans started the series with the Braves. They had a 2-game lead on the Braves. Well, they lost the first game against the Braves. Then they go and they suspend, or I guess postpone's a better word, these 2 games on Wednesday and Thursday because of Hurricane Helene. They pushed them to Monday, which is today. However, there is no other teams in Major League Baseball playing baseball today. It is just the New York Metropolitans and the Atlanta Braves. Now, here's the kicker, okay? The Mets could have gone into Milwaukee, won 2 of 3, and given them the best, or sweep, and given themselves the best chance to say, these games don't even matter. We got to finish our 162. The Braves and the Diamondbacks need to figure out what position they're going to end up in, but these games don't matter. Instead, we got the exact opposite. The Mets have now lost 3 of their last 4 games. Now, it would have been 6 season over, good, bad, or indifferent, no matter what, if there was no hurricane. But the Mets lose the first game to the Braves. These two games get suspended or postponed. I don't know why I keep saying that. And then they go to Milwaukee and lose 2 of 3. Thank God they won last night, or you'd be looking at having to sweep the Braves today to be into the postseason. And now the Mets and the Braves host a tiebreaker, with the Arizona Diamondbacks. But the Mets, must win. There's no other way around it. In the extra day of the season, today is not supposed to happen. Today is supposed to be get ready for postseason time. And it's not, because the Metsies could not handle their business. And I told everybody this a few weeks ago. I said the Mets are going to do to us what we all expect the Mets to do. They're going to battle their way back. They're going to get back in this fight. They're going to hold a tiebreaker. They're going to do this. They're going to put themselves in this position. And you're going to say to yourselves, they control their own destiny. They're going to get in. And if they were truly not going to make every single Mets fan toss and turn at night before they actually get in, they would have found a way to beat the Braves in that one singular game. Or if they lost that game and lost the next 2 against the Braves in terms of not being able to play, not in terms of L in the column loss, you go out and you beat a Milwaukee team that already won the NL Central, doesn't want to be in the postseason, but you roll over there and you can't get the victories. And that's what concerns me going into tonight. Do I want to believe the New York Metropolitans can win today and not only win, but win 2 in a row and knock the Braves out of the postseason? I want to believe that. But I think in reality, there are 2 things that are going to happen tonight. The Mets are going to, actually 3 things. The Mets are going to win game 1, lose game 2. But at least when you win game 1, you're like, woo, we're in. Or they're going to lose game 1 and hold you on the edge of your seat like they did pretty much in the Milwaukee series to scratch and claw a victory in game number 2 and get in. Or the third scenario, which I don't even want to have to talk about, but it's my job. They just get their doors blown off. The Braves just have owned the Mets. It's a thing. It feels like it can't stop even when Chipper Jones isn't even on the team. Chipper Jones hasn't been a Brave in like 10 years, and I still feel like it is the Chipper Jones-led Braves. Freddie Freeman went to the Dodgers, and I feel like nothing's changed. So it is a really long road for the Mets, and the percentage odds might be in their favor tonight. But when you look at everything stacked up, I would call them human odds, the feel odds, the odds of the person, not the analytics, are very low. Diamondbacks went to the World Series last year. The Braves won a World Series 3 years ago and have been in the postseason each of the last few seasons. So of the teams that have been there and done that, it's the other 2. However, the Diamondbacks don't get a chance to play today, and the Mets and the Braves do. So we'll see. Tune in today, doubleheader. Okay, doubleheader. Game 1 of this doubleheader between the Metsies and the Braves is at 1:10 p.m. Okay, so while you're at work today, this is what, if you're a baseball fan, you should be paying attention to. 1:10. That's Tyler McGill on the mound against Spencer Schwellenbach. All right, Tyler McGill versus Schwellenbach in game number 1. And then Luis Severino against possibly the NL Cy Young in Chris Sale in game number 2. We will see what happens. The other teams that are in the postseason in Major League Baseball for the AL or American League, the Royals, the Tigers, and the Orioles picked up all 3 wild cards. The Yankees are the number 1 overall seed, getting a bye in the first round, and the Guardians and the Astros pick up the division winners for those for the American League. And then for the National League, it's the Padres, who are the number one wild card. They are waiting on, as we mentioned, the Mets, the Braves, or the Diamondbacks. And then the Dodgers are the number one seed in the National League. And the Phillies and the Brew Crew also won their divisions. Major League Baseball playoffs start tomorrow night. That's the other wild part about this Mets-Braves thing, is that team that wins, or if they both get in, which is a possibility too, they have to turn around and go play on the road tomorrow. So big week as baseball playoffs start. You know what else was big? It was National Football League Sunday, week 4, and we are going to give you our Rome Show breakdown right here. Oh, that's the good music right there. I feel like people heard a lot of that music this weekend and were really fired up about it. All right, let's run it through really quickly at what we got from what went on yesterday. Now, I feel like a lot of people that listen to this show are dialed into the red zone or dialed into what goes on with the NFL, but I like to give a Monday rundown so everybody's on the same page, because it's not possible to see it all. You do have a life, and you do have to walk around and do stuff on a Sunday. Sometimes you can't just be engulfed in the couch. We're going to start here. Everyone knows what happened on Thursday. We don't care. The Saints, they squeak out a victory against the Falcons. They squeak out a victory against the New Orleans Saints, 26-24, just when I thought Derek Carr and the Saints were going to be able to bounce back after a terrible game last week. They lose to Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. Why? Because Kirk Cousins is one of the best quarterbacks. This is not hyperbole. This is not speaking hot take guy. It's the truth. One of the best quarterbacks in the fourth quarter with the comebacks. He did that. 60 seconds he had to get the Falcons in field goal position, and then Young Koo, 59-yarder. That dude's legit. The Falcons win by 2, improved to 2-2, both teams. Bears beat the Rams. What a terrible football game to watch. The Bears moved to 2-2. Caleb Williams, I don't really know. It's the only thing I can say. 17-23, 157, and 1 TD. Just doesn't look like he's on the same page with a lot of his peoples. The Rams defense was a little bit better this week, but their offense was not very good. That's what happens when you're missing Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. We continue on. The Vikings and the Packers played one of the most interesting games I've seen all weekend. Okay. The Vikings went up 21-0 or 28-0, excuse me. And then all you simply did was watch the Packers slowly chip away at that lead. The Packers scored 22 points in the fourth quarter, not the second half. The fourth quarter. Jordan Love was back in this game. He's healthy again. He was 32 of 54 for 389 and 4 TDs. I think what happened to the Packers early on in this game is they just needed to get Jordan Love back in sync. And they did that a little bit too late against what could be one of the best teams in the league with the 4-0 Vikings. The Steelers get their first loss of the year. The Colts defeat them 27-24. I thought Justin Fields played really good in this game. 22 of 34, 312, 1 throwing TD, 2 running TDs. Looked like a pretty competent quarterback. The problem is Indianapolis had a great first quarter. And then on top of that, Anthony Richardson gets hurt. Joe Flacco, yes, I said Joe Flacco came in and went 16 of 26 for 168 and 2 TDs. I don't understand how the Miami Dolphins are starting Tyler Huntley tonight, but yet Joe Flacco can come in for the Indianapolis Colts and look like he's winning a Super Bowl with the Ravens 12 years ago. It makes no sense to me, but that's what I got in Indy. So the Colts win. They move to 2-2. The Steelers suffer their first loss, but I don't think it's because the quarterback. We'll see what they do there. The Broncos and the Jets played the sloppiest game you've ever seen in football history. The Broncos win 10-9. Not much to talk about there besides the fact that there were points left on the field, but the field was soaked. The Bucs slaughtered the Eagles. Can we just talk for a quick second about Nick Sirianni and the Eagles? Is Nick Sirianni going to lose his job this year? Are we watching another Doug Peterson situation in Philadelphia where 1 or 2 really good years happens, then then years 3 and 4 are like really interesting, and then you might see yourself getting fired? The Eagles look terrible. They went down 20 21 or something, nothing in this game at one point. Jalen Hurts does not look good at all. He's turning the football all over the place. Doesn't look like he has the wheels that he used to have. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on in Philly. Worst game for Saquon so far. And now the Eagles are 2-2. The Bucs are 3-1. And oh, by the way, because the Washington Commanders are playing elite football, the Eagles are not in first place in that division. You got the Cowboys at 2-2, and you got the Eagles at 2-2, and then the Commanders at 3-1. So, hey, by the way, Giants fans, you're not that far of a cry off in that division. We'll get more to that this week. Bengals get their first victory of the year. Joe Burrows leads the Bengals to a victory over the Panthers. It wasn't easy, though, because Andy Dalton's been playing some pretty good football for Carolina. Bengals win 34-24. Burrows 22-31, 232, and a TD. It feels like him and Jamar Chase are getting back on the same page. Jamar Chase only had 3 receptions. They were for 84 yards and a TD, though, so they were efficient receptions. T. Higgins, he had a little bit of a day. At the end of the day, I still think there's something off with this Bengals team. The way I looked at this game, they're not a playoff contender, so you can put that away on your bingo card. Texans squeak one out against the Jags. The Jags are 0-4. Hey, remember when I mentioned that Doug Peterson guy? I think Doug Peterson's about to get Doug Peterson in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence has regressed. The team has regressed. They should be way better than this. And by the way, CJ Stroud, and quite possibly not the greatest game you've ever seen him play, 345 and 2 TDs. Nico Collins is legit. 12 receptions, 151, and a TD. He was my first overall pick. Yes. In both of my leagues. Yes. And it is paying off. Thank the Lord. The Commanders, the aforementioned, the Jaden Daniel-led Commanders. Jaden Daniels was 26-30 for 233 and a TD. He is showing you what it looks like to be an athletic, moving quarterback that can also throw the rock. Eight rushes in this game for 47 yards and a TD. I think the best part about Jaden Daniels, too, is he's super efficient with when he moves around. He's not taking these massive hits. We've seen him take hits. I think every running quarterback to a degree is going to take hits. Hell, we watched Aaron Rodgers take a hit last night. I think Jets fans thought the season was over again. You're going to take hits, especially if you move about the pocket. But he's done a really good job the last 3 weeks of protecting himself and playing a legit quarterback position. 80% completion percentage. It's like number 1 all time for quarterbacks through their first 4 games of their NFL career. Shout out to Jaden Daniels. And by the way, if you were wondering, their punter, he punted 1 time. So he finally punted for the first time in 3 games, he punted. That shows you how efficient that offense is. Underlying fun story from this game, Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator for the Commanders, was the head coach of the Cardinals, who drafted Kyler Murray and thought they would run in that for a while. It didn't happen. He got fired, and he got some revenge in Arizona. The Cardinals are 1-3. They suck. There's nothing you can say about it. They just suck. Maybe Kyler Murray's not the answer. Maybe it wasn't Cliff Kingsbury. The Patriots, they lost by 17, not 17 and a half, which I teased it to. So that was huge. The 49ers look like a solid resemblance of who they should look like. Jawan Jennings, legitimate wide receiver. Not a lot to talk about there. The 49ers are 2-2. I think they need to improve. The Pats just don't have an offense. There's no way around it. If they want to win football games, they got to win at 13-10. The Raiders squeak one out against the Browns. If you were wondering, Deshaun Watson has had 16 straight games in a Browns uniform without throwing over 300 yards. Yeah, that's your daily data for today. If you want me to take that a step further, I will. The last time he threw for over 300 yards was the last weekend of the year in 2020. That is right. That's a long time ago. Good job, Cleveland. Way to spend your money on a terrible investment. The Raiders are 2-2. Gardner Minshew leading the boys. That's exciting. Antonio Pierce, the head coach. I like that situation in Las Vegas. The Chiefs do not look good at 4-0. The Chiefs lost Rashee Rice because Patrick Mahomes was trying way too hard after an interception, and now the Chiefs offense is going to take a big hit. You better rely on Kelsey. You got Samaje Perine, but you don't have Pacheco now, and you don't have Rashee Rice. So what's that offense going to look like, which was also already struggling? The Chargers, it almost doesn't matter who their head coach is. It's just dry toast every single time. You score 10 points in the first quarter. You look like you're going to play really well against the Chiefs, get your first victory in a minute, and you just lay that egg? That's the egg that you laid if you're the Chargers? It just can't happen. You just have too good of a quarterback, at least, quote unquote, we think. Maybe he's really not that good. Maybe we're putting too much stock in Justin Herbert and what's gone on in I was about to say San Diego, what's gone on in Los Angeles. So the Chargers are 2-2. The Chiefs are 4-0. And then finally, last night, a game I did not in a million years predict. It was the Baltimore Ravens slaughtering the Buffalo Bills 35-10. I just think that at some point in time, you're going to lose football games. And Buffalo traveled to Baltimore. I think Buffalo's had a pretty good schedule to start. They had Jacksonville, then they had Miami, then they had the Cardinals. Those were the first 3 teams they played this year. They go out and play Baltimore, which is a legitimate team, and I think they got woken up just a little bit. Nothing crazy, still believe in the Bills, but they just did not look as good. And Baltimore, that's the best they've looked all year. Lamar Jackson, 13 of 18, 156, 2 TDs. But Derrick Henry, 24 carries for 199 yards and a touchdown. That's what I've been talking about with Derrick Henry this entire time. That's why I told you needed to go get him in fantasy. He had a 87-yard rushing touchdown in this game as well. That's what the Baltimore, it's almost the Orioles. That's what the Ravens need to look like. I hope they keep feeding Derrick Henry the rock. Because if they do feed Derrick Henry the rock 15 to 20 times a game, even the 24 that they had right there, it's going to be very hard to play that team late in the third and fourth quarter after taking that pounding. We're going to take a quick commercial break, come back, break down Monday Night Football. We got 2 of them again. Stupid, I know, but we got to break them down. The Dolphins play tonight. Uh-oh. That's going to be a little scary. We'll see what that looks like. Yeah, I know. Hopefully we're not feeling that way after the game. The Rome Show, 12ouncesports.com, Dingo TV channel 217. Back after this.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right. At 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money. And we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Yeah, the Rome Show, 12ouncesports.com, Dingo TV channel 217. Andrew Romanella. 5 to 7 minutes remains in the show, and we have some stuff to cover. So we hope you're locked. If you're not locked or you haven't been locked this entire time, I need you to lock in on the Rome Show podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Super simple stuff. Or just go to 12ouncesports.com. You could watch any replay there. Go to the Twitters, the Instagrams, the social medias, 12OZ Sports. You can find it all there. Dingo TV 217 plays a replay at noon as well. So there's just so many ways to watch the show, get in on the action. We've been having some good commentary recently. If you comment live on the show, but then I could see it, and then we can talk about it. So that's cool too. Tonight, Monday Night Football. We have the Dolphins hosting the Tennessee Titans and the Seahawks hosting the Detroit Lions. We're going to start in Miami, okay? Right now, on ESPN Bananas, they have the Dolphins as 2.5-point favorites. I found that on Fan Bananas as well. They have the total here at 37.5. I completely agree with that. And again, this game is in Miami. Now, here's the background on this game. Neither team has a quarterback. Tennessee is trying to figure out if they have a quarterback. I've decided that they don't have a quarterback. I think a lot of other people might have decided that as well. Will Levis has 4 TDs, 5 interceptions thrown for 579 yards, and a numerous amount of questionable decisions for the Titans. They have a solid running game with Tony Pollard as their feature back. And then the Dolphins have their own quarterback issues because obviously Tua Tagovailoa is currently on injured reserve. I mean, I personally don't think Tua should ever play football again, but we're not going to have that conversation right now. Skylar Thompson, who was the original slated QB2 for the Miami Dolphins, has been knocked onto the injured list and is questionable. So now you have Tyler Huntley starting at the quarterback position for the Miami Dolphins. And it really is the truth. It does not matter what type of weapons you have on your team, okay? It doesn't matter if you have Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle or A-Chain. None of that stuff matters if you don't have a quarterback that can distribute the football, okay? So now Tyler Huntley has spent the first 4 years of his career with the Baltimore Ravens. In his time as a Raven, he played in 20 games. Okay, so he's thrown 342 pass attempts, completing 65% of those passes for essentially 2,000 yards. He has thrown for 8 touchdowns and 7 interceptions and that was during his time as a Raven, which got him some good playing time because Lamar Jackson has injury history. He's also carried the football 115 times for 509 yards and 3 touchdowns. So Tyler Huntley has some stats on the board. I might have been being hard on him because he's not the plan. He's not even backup number 2. Now, when I look at him comparative to Skylar Thompson, I'm like, I guess I feel way more confident in Tyler Huntley starting than I necessarily do Skylar Thompson. But either way, it doesn't make me feel good. So I'm going to say that this game's going to go under on the points. I'm going to take the Dolphins at the -2.5 because I do think sometimes you get a quarterback situation like this and you're like, oh, and the team gets a little bit of a jolt because it was so poor the week before. You know what I'm saying? So either way, I'm taking the Dolphins at the -2.5 and give me the under on the points. If you were wondering, when it comes to total offense, the Dolphins are essentially number 20 in the league, and the Titans are number 29. So not a huge offensive showdown here. The other game, the Seahawks at the Lions. Seahawks at the Lions is interesting because I think both teams are pretty good. The Seahawks are 3-0. The Lions are 2-1. And the Lions are at home, had a way better game last week. The Seahawks have just played gritty football. But I think this one's going to be simple. Right now, the line's at Detroit -4. That's an interesting line. I think it could be closer to a field goal. Total's 46.5. I could see that. I'm still going to take the under there. I favor the side of the Lions here. A side prop that I'm not going to take, but I might throw out there is a Jared Goff interception. That happens almost every game. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs are a legitimate 2-headed monster running the football, but Seattle is just a really, really solid defense. That's just effects. When you look at the total yards given up in the National Football League this year, the Seattle Seahawks are number 1 in the league at 248.7. So they are really good at playing defense. It's probably their strong suit. Now, the Lions are top 10 as well, but it's just one of those things where it's going to be, I think, a defensive battle, and whoever turns the football over least is going to win this game. But I want to take Detroit. I'll take Seattle at the +4, but I think I'm going to take Detroit on the money line, much of like the way the Falcons and the Saints game ended the other day. I think Detroit's a field goal better than Seattle because they're at home. I think both defenses are really good, and both teams are going to try and run the rock. So we'll see what gives. Tough game to pick, though. Not going to put them in my pick segment, which we'll go to now. It is still Monday Night Football, though, so here's what we got. We went 3-0 on the weekend. I took the Saints at plus the 2.5, nailed it. I took the Vikings at the plus 3, nailed it. Took the Commanders at the plus 3.5, nailed it. We've officially gone over 100 victories for the year. We are 101-82 on the season, so good things happening on the Rome Show. This weekend, I'm going to take the Fins versus the Titans under the 37.5. I said that before. Don't need to explain it again. Jahmyr Gibbs, running back for the Detroit Lions. I'm going to take him rushing plus receiving over 78.5. I did the same thing for DeAndre Swift this weekend, and we nailed it. You look at those numbers, and you say to yourself, this is that game where they're going to need to use both. Now, they have David Montgomery, but they've both have been getting equal amount of touches, and I think that'll stay tonight. 78.5 over receive plus rush, Jahmyr Gibbs. And then give me the exact same thing for Devon Achane for the Miami Dolphins. I think he's going to be a key feature in this offense today, with them wanting to hone in on Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill not beating them. If you're the Titans, you go to your running back. Plus, if you want a quarterback who is first-time starter, playing well, you need a really good running game behind him. So I'm going to expect that to be the case. Combo platter, not a great situation backup-wise for the Dolphins. So give me A-Chain over 84.5 receiving plus rush. And those are your 3 picks for the day. And that is the Rome Show. 12ouncesports.com, Dingo TV, channel 217. Andrew Romanella saying, be electric today. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace!
Thank you for listening.